Introduction to Tang San, a demon cultivator in Douluo. Zang was a reincarnator in his past life and has come to the Douluo Continent in this life. See how Zang utilizes his strengths and conditions to achieve maximum benefits. The protagonist is a person with a deep understanding of the city and is willing to do everything for his goals, so in the early stages, he will befriend the master for profit and even enter Shrek Academy. P.S. Tang San's final ending will be very tragic because he was targeted by the protagonist, an extremely cunning guy. Chapter 1. Martial Soul Awakening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zang, in the afternoon, a soul master came to our village to awaken your martial soul. Don't forget. The village chief of Rongshu village stood at the protagonist's doorstep, shouting his name. Got it, village chief. 6-year-old Zang walked out of the door carrying a dustpan and answered. I saw a young man with deep blue hair, red lips and white teeth, dressed in simple clothes, holding a dustpan in his hand, which contained chicken food. He is going to feed the hens at home that have been raised for 2.5 years, and also check if they have laid eggs. I can finally awaken my martial soul, and I don't know what kind of martial soul I can awaken. Hiding while sprinkling chicken food, pondering. The physique of this body in this life is too poor, and I haven't collected any exercises to exercise my body, nor do I know how useful that expired marrow washing pill is. We still need to take a closer look, but Banyan Tree Village belongs to Nodding City and can be planned accordingly. Recalling the information held in his hand, his eyes gradually fell into contemplation. In his past life, Zang was a reincarnator belonging to the main god Space. Later, the main god encountered the invasion of the devouring world dragon. When the main god Space collapsed, he urgently exchanged some items and jumped into the reincarnation pool to reincarnate in Douluo Continent. In this life, all of Zhang's parents unfortunately passed away one after another. Fortunately, the villagers of Banyan Tree had a simple and honest demeanor, so his family was not wiped out. I only have one extraordinary feature of the audience sequence 9 in my hand, a desert eagle with 2 bullets, and an incomplete copy of Seed Magic. I have already used the wash marrow pill, but unfortunately, I do not have Taoist techniques and cannot complete the first chapter of the Seed Magic technique, titled, First Entry into the Tao. Unless I can obtain Tang San's Shen-Tian skill or find a new way to forge the Tao body and Tao heart. After lunch, I sat on the bed, counting the items in my soul space and planning for the future. I just don't know if Tang San has enrolled, and I can't remember the specific time of Douluo. But without a doubt, the biggest opportunity in Douluo is the immortal grass. If we can plan the immortal grass before Tang San. Hidden in my heart, I carefully recall the details of Douluo and search for clues that can help me improve my strength. To get in touch with the immortal grass, I need to have contact with Douluo, either establish a good relationship with him, or know when he will not be in the Sunset Forest, and the key to all of this lies in Douluo. My parents' martial souls are both tree roots without soul power. My martial souls are probably also tree roots, but I took a marrow wash pill, which should have soul power. To grow well, I need a qualified guardian, Nodding City. Close your eyes and make a decision in your heart. Soon, the village chief Tom came to take him to the martial soul hall in the village. He said it was the martial soul hall, but it was actually just a small house. Unexpectedly, the one who came to awaken the martial soul was blind Douluo Su Yuntao. A lone wolf possessed. Su Yuntao summoned his martial soul and transformed into a werewolf, causing several children who had awakened their martial soul to scream loudly. Come over one by one, stand inside here. Under everyone's gaze, the first child stood in the middle of the hexagon. As Su Yuntao continuously injected soul power, a layer of golden light formed a light shield, enveloping him inside. Extend your right hand, Su Yuntao said solemnly as he stared at the child. The boy obediently extended his right hand upon hearing the words, and saw tiny golden lights gushing out like fireflies, forming a blue-silver grass. Blue-silver grass, waste martial soul, try to see if you have soul power. Place your hand on the crystal ball. Soon, with Su Yuntao's words, without soul power, the next child came up to awaken his martial soul. Zio Wenghua, useless martial soul, no soul power, next one. Quickly, all 4 children were awakened and had no soul power. It was the last one to awaken his martial soul, and Su Yuntao reminded him to extend his hand. Hiding a sample, extend your right hand, and a little golden light gushes out, forming a withered tree root. Su Yuntao showed an unexpected look, but didn't say anything. He just pointed to the crystal ball and asked Zang to test his soul power. Zang put his hand up and felt a wave of suction coming from the crystal ball. Immediately after, the crystal ball began to emit light, but it wasn't particularly dazzling. Innate soul power level 4. Su Yuntao widened his eyes as he looked at the glowing crystal ball. You have a chance to become the Soul King, little one. Su Yuntao said eagerly. Little one, do you want to join our martial soul hall? But to his disappointment, Zang quickly shook his head and refused his proposal. Okay, Su Yuntao disappointed as he packed the crystal ball, but still said, congratulations, now you are a soul master. When you reach level 10 and obtain a soul ring, you will become a soul master. After speaking, Su Yuntao wrote his identification for Tibet, and with the enthusiastic support of Tom village chief, Su Yuntao walked out of the village. And with the support of a group of children, he returned home. Not long after, village chief Tom returned and told him that he was preparing to start studying at the junior college in Notting City tomorrow. At night, hiding in bed, with both hands pressed against the back of his head, he murmured to himself, finally, he's starting to master his strength. After adding a soul ring at level 10, I can consider exercising fishing toad power. The key to Zhang's survival in his past life was that he learned fishing for toads, but unfortunately, he is too young now, his spirit are not strong enough, and most importantly, he is too poor. Sidi Fa couple, wealth comes first. Without wealth, how can one eat enough nourishing medicine and food to nourish the body? The path of martial arts always depends on refining essence and transforming qi, refining qi and transforming spirit, refining spirit and returning emptiness, and refining emptiness and combining the Tao. Even if you can't eat enough meat, there's no need to talk about refining essence. I'm afraid that if you refine, your body will suffer from deficiency and qi deficiency, and you'll end up with all sorts of problems. He probably waited until level 10, with the first soul ring, to be full of essence and energy, and then he could start practicing fishing for toads. After a while, unable to hide in thought, I closed my eyes and began to sleep. Chapter 2. White Mouse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a sleepless night, early the next morning, village chief Tom took Zang to Notting City. There were no gatekeepers blocking the way, so Zang quickly completed the admission procedures and became a part-time student. Without any accidents, he hid in the 7th house. I haven't done anything out of line here, and I try to hide my presence as much as possible. After all, he is just an audience. After 1 year of enrollment, he took the risk of losing control and devoured the extraordinary features of that audience. After all, he has reached level 10, and what shocked him was that after eating the extraordinary characteristics of the audience, he once again formed a martial soul. At the same time, he found out that the master Yu Shaojiang is still at Notting Junior College, and there are no Tang San or Xiao Wu in the 7 houses, which indicates that the master has not yet taken in Tang San. This martial soul is really useless. If I hadn't eaten that expired marrow washing pill, I'm afraid I wouldn't have any soul power. Zangpan sat in a hidden corner of the college grass, with his own dead tree root martial soul floating in his hand. I saw Zang struggling to control the twisted and elongated martial soul of the withered tree root, and soon sweat appeared on Zhang's forehead. Even ordinary tree roots are fine, but unfortunately they are dry and withered. Even basic manipulation methods such as twisting and elongation are difficult to achieve, requiring a great deal of soul power. To evolve such martial souls, it is probably necessary to attach soul rings of plant soul beasts with huge vitality. I just don't know if such a reason can convince the master, but it should be possible to do so with the audience's ability. Pack up the martial soul, stand up and pat your buttocks as you walk towards the master Yu Xiaojiang's office. He decided to persuade the master to accept him as a guinea pig for his theory experiment. There is no way, not in college has an unwritten rule that teachers rarely intervene to help ordinary soul warriors obtain century-old soul rings. And the poor boy in Tibet doesn't have the money to hire someone to help him hunt soul rings, but he can't accept any soul ring that lasts for 10 years. And successfully encountering the master not only helps him obtain the desired soul rings, but also enables him to achieve other undisclosed goals. As a reincarnator in his past life, Zang was able to survive because he firmly remembered a saying. Unite all forces that can be united. Now he wants to obtain a suitable soul ring, either join the martial soul hall or other sects, or ask the master. But obviously approaching the master is the best way to achieve his current goals and other future goals. As for the persuasion master, his martial soul flaws and the audience's ability to approach are excellent tools. P.S. The audience's ability comes from the world of the mysterious master, possessing outstanding spirit and keen observation ability. Like an observer, they examine the actors in secular society, and glimpse their true thoughts from their expressions, behaviors, speech habits, and unknown actions. They cleverly influence and secretly guide things to develop in their desired direction. It was urgently exchanged before the rebirth of Tibet. Quickly, Zang walked to the entrance of the master's office. He calmed down, thought through what he wanted to say, took a deep breath, and knocked on the door. "Please come in." Zang pushed the door and entered, only to see a middle-aged man in his 40s and 50s sitting in the room, with hair in his 30s and 70s, and an ordinary face with a hint of vicissitudes. The middle-aged man looked up and down at Zang and said, "Classmate, do you have anything to do with me?" After giving a bow to his chest, Zang spoke in a deep voice, "My name is Zang. I heard that you are a master of martial soul theory, so I would like to discuss something about martial souls with you." "Oh." Yu Xiaojiang raised an eyebrow. "My martial soul is a withered tree root with a 4th level innate soul power. Unlike ordinary tree root martial souls, it is dead, so it cannot be freely manipulated like ordinary plant martial souls. And I am already at level 10, I have a plan. If the soul ring I attach comes from a plant soul beast with great vitality, can it replenish the vitality in my martial soul and make it withered would bring spring. Yu Xiaojiang was lost in thought and constantly pondered the possibility of hiding his words. While speaking, Zang activated the ability of the second martial soul and carefully observed Yu Xiaojiang's expression. "What you said has some truth, but is it possible?" Yu Xiaojiang said softly. "He's in doubt." Zang observed Yu Xiaojiang's emotions. "I heard that the master comes from the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family," Zang said cautiously. Yu Xiaojiang heard this sentence and frowned lightly. He suddenly felt angry and sad in his heart. Zang observed again. "As far as I know, the soul masters of the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family will try to attach dragon-type soul rings as much as possible to enhance their level of dragon transformation." After Zang finished speaking, he closely watched Yu Xiaojiang's expression. "It seems that you have inquired about many things to solve your martial soul problem." Yu Xiaojiang relaxed. "He is thinking about my purpose." Zang observed Yu Xiaojiang's psychology and was not playing tricks. "I heard that master, your innate soul power is at level 0.5 and has been stuck at level 29. After Zang finished speaking, Yu Xiaojiang immediately clenched his fist. He is angry and sad. Zang Mingrui read this message. "What do you mean?" Yu Xiaojiang furrowed his brow again and said in a deep voice, after all, his scar had been exposed by a child. Due to this incident, Master, you have been engaged in research on the theory of martial souls and eventually became a master in this field. Moreover, Master, you are also the wisdom horn in the golden iron triangle, and the rare Trinity martial soul fusion technique shocked the mainland. Zhang's words carried a hint of respect and even flattery, but upon hearing Zhang's words, Yu Xiaojiang's anger disappeared and he relaxed once again. So, do you want me to help you obtain the appropriate soul ring? Yu Xiaojiang guessed Zhang's thoughts and gave him a deep glance. A master is a master, and I can't hide it from you. My innate soul power is only at level 4, so it should be the end of my cultivation until I reach the Soul King. Yu reading book www.yuyukangshu.net, but if all of them can be equipped with soul rings with huge vitality plants and soul beasts, and if it can allow the martial soul to evolve, it can bring the withered tree root martial soul back to spring, which can also confirm your words. There are no useless martial souls, only useless soul masters and your top 10 theories of martial soul. Zang stated his purpose, bent down and bowed again, while glancing at Yu Xiaojiang's expression with a sideways glance. He was slowly affirming my words in his heart, and I was pushing hard. With this in mind, Zang spoke up again and said, I know that you are from the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family. If I can really make my martial soul evolve, it means that your martial soul defect comes from your martial soul, insufficient dragon blood. If you can take heavenly and earthly treasures rich in dragon blood, can you also make your martial soul evolve and break the defect of level 29? This sentence deeply penetrated Yu Xiaojiang's heart, becoming the last straw that overwhelmed the camel. The flaw in the martial soul of Luo Sanpao has always been a thorn in Yu Xiaojiang's heart, which has led to his psychological problems. On the one hand, he comes from the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family, and the family's reputation makes him proud. On the other hand, his innate soul power of 0.5 makes him the laughing stock of everyone, causing him to feel inferior in his heart. This also caused his paranoia and weakness in his heart, and when he encountered problems, he only wanted to escape. Zang caught Yu Xiaojiang's psychological problem and successfully helped him find a suitable soul ring for Zang. After regaining his senses, Yu Xiaojiang looked at Zang Dandan and said, let's talk about it first. You're not my disciple yet, and I'm just helping you to verify my theory. I dare not expect more, Zang lowered his head and said. Sure enough, the innate level 4 useless martial soul still couldn't move him, Zang inwardly retorted. However, the goal has also been achieved. Chapter 3. 500-Year Ivy Vine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Moonlight shone through the window into the 7th dormitory, and hiding in bed, he saw all his roommates asleep and quietly got out of bed and left the dormitory. Leaving the dormitory building, he ran into a forest with a familiar background and observed from side to side. When he saw no one around, he sat down. Zang put on a 5-centered posture and began to recall the practice of fishing for toads. Unlike Taoist Qi cultivation, fishing toad force belongs to the martial arts technique of martial artists practicing Qi, and is a form of Neijia fist. Although the core essence of both Taoist Qi practice and Neijia fist lies in essence, energy, and spirit, they are completely different in their cultivation process. The core essence of Taoist Qi cultivation lies in transcending and soaring. The physical body is just a treasure raft that crosses the sea of suffering. No matter what true Qi, golden elixir, vigorous Qi, or even Vajra immortality, jade bone and golden muscle appear during the process, they are just by-products and minor details. Only by soaring in the daytime and becoming a Buddha on the ground is the positive result of the righteous path. Only those who are not familiar with the inner world will pursue these products, which is called corpse-guarding ghosts in Taoism. Those who truly practice will not show off their divine abilities everywhere, but will only return to simplicity and simplicity. However, the martial artist's Neijia fist abandons these elusive pursuits and only pursues a solid and powerful physique or energy, or a visible and tangible attacking power. Practicing also involves combining internal and external martial arts to achieve a balance of strength and softness. Mastering and even unintentionally, it is true meaning. The profound realm of the cicada's foresight before the autumn wind moves is already close to the Tao, and further, breaking the void and seeing the gods without being bad, using great wisdom to explore the true essence of life, it is from martial arts to the Tao. Practitioner, focus on practicing body and strength. It is divided into 3 levels of strength. Clear strength, dark strength, and transforming strength, as well as the steps of cultivating oneself through easy bone, easy muscle, and easy marrow. Fishing for toads is a cultivation method that was obtained by hiding in Wudong Mountain in a previous life. He also practiced to the level of easy muscle, which allowed him to escape death multiple times. And now Zang is about to start his first practice of fishing for toads. Since entering school for more than a year, he has been secretly practicing Zhuogong, and with his soul power reaching level 10, he can also give it a try. Moreover, Zang knew that the strength of his physical fitness was related to the duration of absorbing soul rings. However, he was too young before, and practicing the stake technique affected his physical development too much, which was why he did not practice. During the day, the master told Zang a message that he knew a plant soul beast had strong vitality, but its lifespan was slightly longer. It was a 500-year-old ivy plant. Ivy is known for its well-developed roots and vitality. As long as all of its roots are not dug out, even if it is cut off, it will grow new vines from the roots. Although it has no attacking power, it relies on this vitality to survive. This was also discovered by chance during the master's travels to the mainland. And this also happens to meet the requirements of Tibet. A vigorous life may bring the withered tree root martial soul back to spring, and a well-developed root can also enhance the extensibility of the withered tree root martial soul. The 500-year-old ivy has exceeded the absorption period of the first soul ring, and the master has also asked Zang several times to confirm his determination before deciding to take Zang to hunt for this soul ring. They agreed to meet in a month's time, during which the master needed to find an assistant to easily hunt down the 500-year-old ivy. After all, this plant soul beast is in the sunset forest. Practice reason but not strength, practice body but not move. After recalling the essence of fishing for toads, Zang took a deep breath and began a regular breathing. Gradually, a frog chirped from Zhang's body. Goo 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 goo, accompanied by the chirping of frogs, the hidden belly and cheeks suddenly bulged, like frogs courting in the fields in spring. This is like the dull cry of a frog, as if it contains vibrant vitality. Fortunately, the forest where practicing martial arts is far enough from the dormitory building, and the hiding realm is not deep. The frog chirping is not too loud, and even if a professor comes out at night, they will only think it is an ordinary bullfrog chirping. So, Zang practiced fishing for toads for 2 hours every night and persisted for a month. Zang, master wants you to go to his office to find him. Zang, who was eating heavily, was patted on the shoulder when his roommate called him. Upon hearing his roommate's words, Zang quickly took a few bites of the rice from the bowl and quickly left with a wipe of his mouth. Oh, this is for at least 10 people. Tut tut. The roommate aside skimmed and hid the basin for eating, unable to resist roast. Zang ran to the entrance of the master's office, knocked on the door, and with permission, pushed the door in. At first glance, there was still the decadent master Yu Xiaojiang, but next to him stood a burly man who was not very tall, but indeed very strong. This is the helper I invited. After all, that ivy plant is on the outskirts of the sunset forest. It's a bit dangerous for us to enter alone. Just call him Mr. Zhao. Yu Xiaojiang gave an introduction to Tibet. Zang knew that this person should be the immortal king, Zhao Wuji, and he also bent down and bowed respectfully, shouting, "Hello Mr. Zhao. I have no choice but to bow my head when I am under the eaves. These 500 years of Ivy League opportunities are rare, and Zang can only bow his head and be a good person. You just need to hide it, this time you're going to absorb 500 years of Ivy. You have to think carefully, although it may bring evolution to your martial soul, it could also cause you to explode and die." Zhao Wuji still reminded. I understand, but I am already an orphan and have nothing to worry about. For me, even if I cultivate to the level of Soul King, it is difficult to use it for combat. It would be better to sacrifice my life to pursue that glimmer of vitality. Hiding his eyes fixed on Zhao Wuji, he spoke forcefully. Moreover, this month's practice of fishing for toads has greatly strengthened Zhang's physical body, and of course, it has also strengthened his appetite. Eating 10 at a time is not an exaggeration. Huh, good kid. If you can survive, I can make the decision to let you come to our Shrek Academy. Zhao Wuji laughed heartily and patted Zhang's shoulder hard. Yu Xiaojiang stared at Zang, his expression inexplicable, as if he had seen his former self. I don't know if I had the courage of this child back then. He asked himself in his heart. 3 days later, the three of them arrived at the Sunset Forest. Let's go. Yu Xiaojiang led the way in front, hiding beside him, and Zhao Wuji followed them behind. After the three of them walked for a while, Yu Xiaojiang stopped and turned to Zhao Wuji, saying, the location of that ivy plant is right ahead. It's just that there's a 5,000-year-old earth bear guarding next to it, waiting for its results. It's up to you, Wuji. No problem. Zhao Wuji summoned his martial soul, his body size skyrocketed, and his 7 martial souls moved forward calmly. In no time, Zhao Wuji shouted, come here. Yu Xiaojiang and Zang quickly ran over and saw Zhao Wuji sitting on the body of the earth bear, which was trembling with fear as it covered its head. Hey, I know you can understand me. Go dig out that ivy tree. Zhao Wuji clenched his fist and stood up, threatening fiercely. Upon hearing this, the earth bear quickly and secretly glanced at Zhao Wuji, then glanced at Yu Xiaojiang and Zang. It hurriedly stood up and began digging the ivy by its cave with its claws. The roots of this 500-year-old ivy plant are nearly 100 meters deep, so calling this earth bear to dig would save us trouble, Yu Xiaojiang said softly. Hiding beside him, nodding in agreement with the master's words, if he were to rely on himself, not to mention knocking down this 5,000-year-old earth bear, even digging out this ivy tree would be difficult. After all, it is impossible to kill the ivy without cutting its roots. This earth bear dug several tens of meters and took several hours. The three of them also waited for a few hours. The only bear dug had 2 paws that were blood and flesh blurred. It looked at Zhao Wuji with tears in its eyes, its 2 bare paws mixed with blood and soil. All right, you go. Zhao Wuji waved his hand. Upon hearing this, the earth bear quickly stood up and ran away. Kid, there are still a few meters left. You come dig, I'm afraid this bear will kill this ivy. Dig it out, and it will die soon. Zhao Wuji took out a shovel from his soul guide and instructed Zang. Hiding nodded and took over the shovel to continue the mission of Earth Bear. As for asking Zhao Wuji to help. Jokes, asking a soul saint to help is already a matter of adult love, let alone the famous, immortal king, among soul saints. Zang started digging while thinking about Yu Xiaojiang's introduction to this plant spirit beast. Due to the characteristics of ivy, only by digging out its roots can it be killed, and ivy roots are particularly long, so few people use them to make soul rings. However, after 1,000 years, ivy not only produces fruits rich in soul power, but its roots are also full of nutrients. But this also attracts a type of ant spirit beast, which specifically feeds on the roots of ivy, so ivy that has been over 1,000 years old is also quite rare. After more than an hour, Zang finally dug to the bottom. He pulled out the last section of the roots and used the shovel in his hand to chop the piles of ivy roots into several pieces. Gradually, a yellow ring appeared on the body of the ivy soul beast. The 500-year ivy soul ring. Quickly meditate and rest, soul rings can exist for an hour, Zhao Wuji shouted to Zang at the bottom of the pit. And the two quickly followed the pit and arrived at Zang's side. After meditating for a while, Zang regained his strength and used his heart to communicate with his soul ring. This 500-year soul ring was attracted by Zang and drifted into Zang's body. do you still have time to give up? Yu Xiaojiang couldn't help but say. It's useless. Zhao Wuji interrupted Yu Xiaojiang's words. He has already started absorbing soul rings, and it's not too late to give up now. Master, it all depends on the child's perseverance. If he can succeed, it can also correct your martial soul theory. Yeah, Yu Xiaojiang murmured. Pain. This is the feeling of hiding. After all, it has exceeded the limit of the first soul ring's lifespan. Fortunately, over the past year, Zang started practicing Zhuogong. This month, he has also practiced fishing toad force and started the practice of Yi-Gu. His physical fitness has greatly surpassed that of his peers, otherwise he might not have died from exploding from the beginning. The feeling of pain was also well controlled by the second martial soul. Apart from the pain brought by the first wave, the later feelings can already be well tolerated. Zhao Wuji and Yu Xiaojiang watched as Zhang's body trembled when his soul ring first entered his body, and the rest of the process passed smoothly. Hello, Master. Now let's see if this child's martial soul can evolve, but after all, it's a rare IV soul ring. If so, does this mean? Zhao Wuji didn't finish his words, but Yu Xiaojiang understood his meaning and couldn't help but start blessing Zang for successfully absorbing soul rings. After a while, Zang opened his eyes and a yellow soul ring appeared next to him, rhythmically moving up and down. First soul skill. Growth. Hiding his right hand, he extended a tree root like a snake. With a hidden thought, the tree root lifted its head like a giant python, and then twisted into various shapes in the air. Success. Upon seeing this, Yu Xiaojiang exclaimed in shock, because he had seen how difficult it was to control the withered tree root martial soul before hiding. This kind of clever operation was simply impossible, not to mention twisting it into various shapes. Even simple bending would be difficult to achieve. At this moment, Yu Xiaojiang's heart was filled with mixed feelings. Only he knew that the soul ring attached to his Luo San Pao martial soul, although it was a century-old soul ring, was not a dragon-type soul beast, but an ordinary century-old soul beast. After all, dragon-type soul beasts are highly valued, and of course, they should be provided as much as possible to the family's geniuses. If I had been able to attach soul rings of dragon soul beasts, perhaps not. Looking at Yu Xiaojiang's emotions mixed with anger, sadness, and happiness, he knew what his heart knot was. He estimated that perhaps, fishing for toads, would make Yu Xiaojiang easily break through his muscles and marrow, transform himself, and be able to break through the level of 30 soul power. But it is certainly impossible to ask Zang to hand over, fishing for toads, to Yu Xiaojiang and make a joke of it. Hidden in his heart, he asks himself that a person like him has a personality similar to that of the One or the evil Emperor Xiang Yutian. He is extremely deep in the city and has an unpredictable mind, making it difficult to trust others. He is also willing to use the most malicious thoughts to guess others. For example, when the evil emperor approached the rain field, even treasures like the evil emperor's relics had to guard against his good friend Yan Fei. Handing in fishing for toads is not about causing trouble for oneself. I wish I could put away all the good things. It is a great thing to let Yu Xiaojiang know that a suitable soul ring can enhance the essence of martial soul. If it's not a big deal, let him know that his physical fitness can increase the absorption of soul rings for a longer period of time. Kid, how did you do it? Zhao Wuji asked in surprise. Zang recklessly manipulated the tree roots into various shapes, twisting and coiling them into his name, and forming the appearance of some small animals. What a flexible control. Yu Xiaojiang couldn't help but sigh when he saw Zhang's operation. Perhaps because of my strong physical fitness, most classmates can't match me. Zhangman casually replied, but in fact, he was already mentally prepared. Really? Come over and let me feel my bones. Zhao Wuji called Zang to his side and pinched Zhang's shoulder, hand bones, and arm bones with his hand. This child's body is indeed stronger than its peers. Will physical fitness affect the absorption period of soul rings? Zhao Wuji and Yu Xiaojiang exchanged a glance. Who knows? If that's the case, maybe my second soul ring can absorb soul rings that have been around for nearly 1,000 years. Zang casually said shocking words. Alright, let's go back. Yu Xiaojiang clapped his hands and made a decision. Chapter 4. I am the audience, not an actor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zang, have you captured the first soul ring yet? Let's take a look. Zang returned to the 7th dormitory, and his roommates rushed over. A group of 7 or 8-year-old children gathered around Zang, wanting to see their first soul master in the dormitory. Most of the roommates in Tibet have innate soul power at levels 3 to 5, but they are too lazy to study hard. After all, they are children and it is difficult to restrain themselves, so they have not yet reached level 10 and are still hovering around levels 7 or 8. Cang once heard a senior reincarnator say, the most important thing to see a person is their execution ability. People with strong execution ability will not fail too much wherever they go. Zhang Shen thought so. He was like a hunter, willing to do anything for his prey. Unfortunately, what he eats is an extraordinary feature of the audience's way. If it were a hunter's way, it would definitely melt into his mouth. And the extraordinary characteristics of the audience have become the second martial soul. Zhang suddenly thought to himself, if I were eating the extraordinary characteristics of the hunter path, what would become the second martial soul? It should be a ball of fire. After all, the mythical creature form of the hunter path is the flame giant. But at this moment, he was surrounded by a group of people and had no choice but to reveal his first soul ring. Wow, is it a century-old soul ring? It's really amazing. What kind of soul beast is it? It's a 300-year-old vine, replied Zang helplessly. Wow, I envy you so much. After a while, the crowd dispersed and Zang was able to catch his breath. Hiding in bed, opening his hand to release his martial soul, the withered tree root martial soul, no, it should be the tree root martial soul extending from the palm of his hand, rolling up a water cup like a tentacle, and pouring water into his mouth. My current martial soul has absorbed the vitality of ivy, evolved and revitalized, and also inherits the characteristics of ivy. The roots of the tree can extend very long, and as long as the soul power is sufficient, it can almost grow infinitely. Unfortunately, the vitality is still not enough. If it is interrupted, it will require a considerable amount of soul power to grow. And it's still difficult to grow a few tree roots. I can only grow one in each hand, and any more will require more soul power. It seems that the second soul ring needs to consider how to split the tree roots. Hiding his fingers and lightly tapping into the human body, he kept pondering in his heart which plant soul beast was suitable for the second soul ring. As for animal spirit beasts, pull it down, then Yu Xiaojiang will misunderstand people. A good blue-silver grass and would escape will result in additional toxins and a skill called blue-silver entanglement. Do plant martial soul entanglements still require soul skills? It's like a slippery world. By the way, there is still vitality. By the way, Tang San hasn't enrolled yet. After Tang San enrolls, can I plan for the 100,000-year soul bone of the blue-silver emperor? I remember when Tang San joined Shrek Academy, it was Tang Hao who personally protected him. I don't know the Taoist techniques, and it's difficult for me to cultivate the Tao body and Tao heart. I can only take a different path. I hope my approach is correct, cultivating demons. Hidden in thought, gradually falling into sleep. During the day, the news of obtaining the first soul ring spread widely, and now the intention of hiding himself was considered futile. He is now recognized as a representative of working-class students. Although he does not admit it himself, his identity is here. He does not want to be the boss, and others will think he is the boss. How helpless. I was just an audience member and ended up becoming an actor. Hiding his head down, he cast aside the little brothers following behind him. Damn it, in that case, how should I exercise my pile skills? Thinking this way, I hid faster. Unexpectedly, Zang happened to meet the group of people he least wanted to see, who were noble students from Notting Junior College. Hey, kid, are you the boss of Chisha? A young man wearing a gorgeous robe blocked Zhang's path, and Zang frowned as he looked at him. He is the leader of those people, named Lin Fan. He is a quick attack soul master, and his martial soul is the Wind Wolf, level 19. A little brother behind Zang ran to his side and whispered his message in Zhang's ear. What do you want to do? Zang listened to these messages and fixed his gaze on them. What are you doing? Of course it was a fight, why didn't you dare? Lin Fan sneered. Oh, beat him up, brother Lin. Beat him up to find his mother. A group of garbage workers. The aristocratic students behind Lin Fan began to provoke the workers, causing the younger brothers of Zang to look angry. They could only look at Zhang's back and see him make decisions. Okay, I agreed, but how about we make a bet? At this point, Zang proposed the conditions. Oh. Seeing this, Lin Fan raised his eyebrows. If I win, you give me 100 gold coins. If I lose, I'll let you handle it. How about that? Upon hearing this, Lin Fan grinned and said, You ignorant guy, I'm almost level 20. And you just obtained the soul ring, and your martial soul is still a withered tree root. How can you fight me? You don't have to worry about it. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net, come on. I don't even need a martial soul to deal with guys like you, Zang said lightly. You guy. Lin Fan didn't say much anymore, summoning a martial soul possessed by the Wind Wolf, and a yellow soul ring appeared beside him. First soul skill. Wind. Without waiting for Lin Fan to release his first soul skill, Zang exerted force on his legs and instantly approached Lin Fan. Breaking fist. I only heard a secluded slap, and the air exploded as I swung my fist. In Lin Fan's incredulous gaze, it hit his stomach. Although Zang collected half of his strength, he also curled up on the ground in pain like a shrimp, leaving his martial soul state. Zang shook his head at this look. If the nobles of the entire Tiendo Empire were like this, without ambition, and only knew how to seek pleasure all day long, he really didn't know how to face the challenges of the Star Luo Empire. It can be seen from hiding that Lin Fan's muscles are loose and his whole body is weak. At first glance, he hasn't exercised regularly. If a beast martial soul master doesn't train, how can he engage in hand-to-hand combat with others? At least he has now entered the realm of Mingjin, and ordinary beast martial soul masters may not necessarily surpass him in hand combat. Take 100 gold coins. Zhang's right hand summoned the martial soul, and the tree root stretched out straight like a long sword. Zang held it in his right hand and pointed his tip directly at Lin Fan's eyebrow. Me, I'll take it. Lin Fan stumbled up, touched the purse around his waist, counted the coins, and then handed the purse to Zang. Zang took the money bag, put away his martial soul, and walked past the aristocratic students. And the working-class students walked past them with high spirits. Too handsome, boss. Yeah, I didn't expect the boss to defeat this guy with just one move, not even his martial soul. Chapter 5. Wooden escape between pillars strikes the world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I truly deserve to be the boss. I exercise my martial soul while eating, isn't it too handsome? A group of little fans gathered around Zang, watching him use his martial soul to roll up a spoon and take a big bite to eat. I saw a tree root sticking out from each of Zhang's left and right shoulders, one rolling up a bowl and the other rolling up a spoon, feeding him food. And his own hands were flipping through books about soul beasts. Damn it, I poked my nose again. Zang reluctantly put down his book and took out a handkerchief to wipe his nose. Currently, he still finds it difficult to be distracted. In his imagination, his first martial soul in the future would follow the path of Mu Dun, and in the early stages, he was not prepared to attach soul rings with active attack power to the martial soul. After all, his martial soul characteristics are too poor. He believes that in the early stage, it is still necessary to strengthen the basic attributes of tree roots, mainly enhancing vitality, resilience, extensibility, and most importantly, devouring ability. As for the active attack skill, for the plant Wulin, it is nothing more than winding and binding. There is no need to spend precious additional soul ring opportunities. It is not difficult to use dim sum to manipulate Wulin. Moreover, Zang discovered that soul masters in this world rely too heavily on martial souls, as it is very convenient to use skills after attaching soul rings. However, delving deeper into and controlling martial souls requires a lot of effort. After all, humans are creatures manipulated by desire, and laziness is their natural enemy. In Zhang's view, if a person wants to become a great master, they must walk their own path and cannot just pick up the wisdom of others. Just like himself, can fishing for toad power surpass the founder of fishing for toad power, even if it develops into a flower? In Douluo, even if Tang San excels in the Haotian 9 techniques and Sea God techniques, how can he compare to the original creators Tang Chen and Sea God? As for walking his own path, Zang admires Tang Chen even more. Even if Qiandao Lu becomes a super Douluo at level 99, he is just a vassal of the angel god and still follows the path of the angel god. And Tang Chen has created various Haotian hammer soul techniques, which clearly have a deeper understanding of Haotian hammer. Therefore, even though they are both at level 99, Thousand Paths of Flow still cannot compare to Tang Chen. So Tang Chen was able to accept the inheritance of the Shura god, but unfortunately he was slightly inferior in terms of spirit. In terms of martial arts, he had not yet been able to refine the spirit to return to emptiness or know the past through the path of sincerity. In the end, he was on the verge of success and was controlled by the 9-headed Bat King. If Zang wants to walk his own path, he must have a deep understanding of his martial soul, and cannot know what it is and why it is. So, Zang decided to use tree root martial souls instead of his hands in his daily life, to exercise his control over the martial souls and also to develop his ability to be distracted and versatile. Even in the future, Zang envisioned whether he could change the form of the tree root martial soul, such as transforming it into the shape of a hand, so that the task of wiping the buttocks could be handed over to the martial soul. However, currently it is still difficult to achieve this situation, and it is likely that a special soul beast's soul ring will need to be attached to achieve it. After finishing the meal, Zang left the college and got rid of his little fans. As he enters, he needs to engage in a deeper level of cultivation in fishing for toads, which is not suitable for the academy. He needs to find a hotel with good sound insulation. Quickly, Zang found a hotel and rented a room for a month with the money he earned from the fight. It needs to have a particularly good sound insulation effect. I understand, hee. Amidst a burst of frowning and eye-teasing from the clerk, he walked into the rented room. Now you can rest assured to practice. Hidden in the room, he stood for a while, briefly activating his qi and blood, then sat down and used his soul power. Unlike the cautious and complex and rigorous exercise route of general qigong techniques, boxing emphasizes the importance of keeping qi and essence together, as well as the overall strength of the body. It can be said that it is mainly based on dynamic work, supplemented by static work, and the two complement each other as external and internal yin and yang. The cultivation of martial arts is nothing more than guiding the circulation of qi, ren, and xiao zhou tian. The route of movement is also simpler and more rustic, and it can better refine the physical body. Zang is the process of using zhuagong to activate soul power, nourish the body, activate qi and blood, and increase appetite, which in turn increases soul power. As for fishing for toads, it is a secret technique that specializes in cultivating bones, muscles, and internal organs. Simply put, fishing for toads, is a special breathing technique that mimics the sound of frogs, shakes the bones and muscles of the whole body, and even the internal organs. Previously, Zang had only been using fishing toad power to shake his whole body, and had not yet delved into the practice of bone changing. After all, martial arts practice places too much emphasis on physical strength, and if the strength is not up to standard, forced practice will only harm the body. Now Zang is already an 11th level soul master, and the soul ring feeds back on the body, reaching the basic strength of cultivation. It has to be said that the development speed of people in Douluo world is still very fast. The next thing to do is to focus on the cultivation of bones and supplement it with the cultivation of the whole body. I saw Zang drumming frogs again, and his mind controlled the power of vibration to transmit to his bones. After practicing for a quarter of an hour, I saw Zang sweating profusely, and then I heard a gurgling sound coming from his stomach. Zang stopped, covered his stomach, and couldn't help but sigh. Practicing martial arts is too easy to get hungry. Go eat some soul beast meat. Stopping his meditation practice, Zang stood on a pile again, then took a shower and walked out of the room. Chapter 6. The second martial soul of the audience. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He sat in the barbecue restaurant, with skewers rolled up from tree roots on both sides of his shoulders, and a bottle of barley wine in his right hand. Minors are not allowed to drink alcohol. Fuck him, wine is a man's blood. Hide and eat while recalling the details of Douluo in your mind. Although I am already a soul master and can graduate, the master has not yet taken Tang San as his disciple. I will still stay in Nodding City for a period of time. Once I know when the master will take Tang San as his disciple, I can determine the timeline. Take a sip of meat skewers and drink a sip of wine. This is a grilled skewer made from soul beast meat, which costs over 10 gold coins per meal. If I remember correctly, Tang San's family is in Holy Soul Village, and during Tang San's journey with Xiao Wu to Soto City, Tang Hao has been following him. That is to say, the Blue Silver Emperor is not under anyone's supervision. In the original work, the Blue Silver Emperor is located in a cave behind a waterfall, which is hundreds of meters high and should be quite eye-catching. Damn it, the mountain range near Holy Soul Village is only a few tens of miles away. Moreover, the mountain is steep and the terrain is treacherous. The cave is located in the upper part of the waterfall, and the surrounding rock walls are very smooth due to the water flow, making it extremely difficult to climb. In addition, the waterfall flows straight down, and the force of the water flow is no more than 10,000 pounds. Tang Hao also relied on his powerful soul power to forcefully break through the waterfall and enter the cave. No wonder Tang Hao hid the Blue Silver Emperor there. It's also difficult for him to find this place. By the way, there's also Xiao Wu. You can't miss the soul ring and soul bone of the 100,000-year soul beast. And Tang San also loves Xiao Wu deeply, using people as a medium and emotions as a means. Hidden deep in my mind, my eyes became even more profound. I was just mechanically eating meat skewers, without experiencing the taste of soul beast meat at all. The waterfall is probably not difficult to find, after all. In order to form a waterfall, there must be a big river. As long as you search along the river, you can find the waterfall sooner or later. How to climb the waterfall is rare. It seems that one still needs to rely on their own martial soul. The characteristic of tree root martial soul lies in its ability to break through soil and take root, and its strength is also good. After obtaining the soul ring of ivy, it can almost grow infinitely, and breaking through soil and taking root is the advantage of ivy. But currently, the maximum number of tree roots that can be separated from the treasure is 3, and any additional amount of soul power will be too much. Moreover, repairing it after being destroyed also requires a lot of soul power. After all, the first soul ring only turns the withered tree root martial soul into a tree root martial soul. So Zang aimed the second soul ring at the plant soul beasts that are good at proliferation and branching. This not only allows the martial soul to evolve and gain the ability to split, but also allows for repair with smaller soul power after being destroyed. As for how to obtain Xiaowu's soul bone and soul ring, Zang plans to use the second martial soul. After devouring the extraordinary characteristics of the audience, he miraculously possessed a second martial soul, which was also his true martial soul. The Eye of the Soul. In mystery, the audience's pathway represents the omniscient and omnipotent realm of the mind. The extraordinary characteristic is transformed into a martial soul, which also blends with the eyes of the Tibetan, forming the essence of the martial soul. It is worth mentioning that after obtaining the second martial soul, not only did it greatly enhance Zang's spiritual power, but it also remained silent and unnoticed when activated. At present, the ability can only detect the emotions of others by observing their expressions, and the strength of the ability is relatively weak. After all, it is only a martial soul formed by the extraordinary characteristics of Sequence 9. It is estimated that the innate soul power should be around 6 or 7. "Hey, kid, did you hit my brother?" The words coming from around interrupted Zang's deep thinking, forcing him to turn his head and look. Upon seeing a teenager around 15 or 16 years old and the beaten Lin Fan following behind him, Zang immediately knew what was going on. "Damn it, I usually remain silent in the academy, but I ended up hiding quite deep and even defeated my younger brother. But today I will teach you a lesson. As long as you learn to bark like a dog, how about I spare you?" He pointed at Zang arrogantly, but Zang just looked at him coldly. "If you want to fight, don't talk nonsense. If you lose, compensate me with another 100 gold coins. If I lose, you can still handle it. Okay, then don't say I bullied you." Lin Dong, Martial Soul. Storm Wolf, Level 26 Strong Attack Type Soul Master. Martial Soul Possessed. Zang, Martial Soul. Tree Root, 11 Level Control Soul Master. Amidst the exclamation of the store manager, "Stop fighting, stop." Lin Dong completed his martial soul possession and summoned 2 yellow soul rings. First soul skill. Power. Lin Dong activated his first soul ring, his arms muscles bulging, and he charged towards Zang with a fierce expression on his face. No rules and regulations. Hide the words, slow. Then, hiding and dodging the sharp claws that Lin Dong swung downwards, quickly approached Lin Dong. Zang and Lin Dong exchanged a glance, and Lin Dong tried to catch Zang with both hands. However, Zhang's hands formed a crane beak shape and he pecked at the numb muscles of his arms. In an instant, Lin Dong let out a scream and retreated. Damn it, the second soul skill. Wind Blade. Lin Dong hugged his arms and tried to hide angrily. The second soul ring flickered, and a wind blade of about 1 meter cut vertically towards the hide. Hiding dodged the wind blade, which instantly split open the table behind him, breaking open the window with undiminished power. Then, hiding in Lin Dong's frightened eyes, he approached him again. The power is decent, but unfortunately the accuracy is not enough. The dragon wagged its tail. Hide a spinning kick that hit Lin Dong's waist. This kick is well controlled and will only cause a particularly painful kick, but it won't cause any harm. Lin Dong was kicked onto Lin Fan, and the two brothers rolled together, hiding their palms and extending the roots of a tree. The roots rushed towards them like giant snakes. As soon as the two brothers regained their senses, they saw a tree root trapped around their neck, with its pointed tip in front of their eyes. Cold sweat slid off their foreheads, and they exchanged a glance, unable to resist swallowing a mouthful of saliva. "I'm sorry, I'll compensate you with 100 gold coins now. I'll compensate for the losses here." At a critical moment, it was Lin Dong who was able to bend and stretch, begging for mercy from Tibet. "Alas, if I have power, why bother with their noble status? Just kill them directly. Power. I want to control others' power at will." Hidden in his heart, he shouted expressionlessly and picked up the money bag on Lin Dong's body with his martial soul, then released his restraint and turned around to leave. Wait. Lin Dong stopped Zang. Do you still want to fight? Zang turned his head and stared coldly at him. I don't know why, but seeing Zhang's sharp gaze, Lin Dong felt a chill in his heart, but he still trembled and said, My father is the brother-in-law of the city lord. I want to learn from you and hope you can teach us combat skills, can you? Oh. Hiding interest, a tree root grew on their shoulder and lifted the two of them, then patted the ashes on their bodies. Tell me more, Zang looked at them with great interest. We are too weak and don't know how to fight. We want to become stronger. We give you 200 gold coins every month, and we are also responsible for your daily expenses. We hope you can teach us how to fight, how about that? Lin Dong's own ideas. Sure. Zang grinned, and now there's no need to worry about how to make money and eat meat. As for how to teach them, these two aristocratic boys can only persist in running and exercising. What real kung fu can they expect from Zang? If we give them 2 more sets of grappling hands, it will be enough for them to hang out in the aristocratic circle. After all, this circle basically relies on money to hire people to obtain century-old soul rings, and then use stronger soul power to suppress people. Those who can persist in training are rare. These two brothers have already surpassed others by not being lazy about dogs. Chapter 7. Tang 3 Enrollment. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 8. Shrek College. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Shrek College is located in the city of Soto in the Kingdom of Barak. Barak Kingdom is one of the 4 major kingdoms of the Heavenly Do Empire, located in the southern part of the empire, bordering the province of Fasno, but with an area only 3/4 of that of the province of Fasno. The southern part of Barak Kingdom borders directly with the Stara Empire, so the military strength of Barak Kingdom can be said to be the strongest among the 4 major kingdoms. After all, it is the gateway of the Heavenly Do Empire. The city of Soto is located on the wealthiest plain of the Barak Kingdom, known as the Barak Granary. Zang followed the caravan for a week before arriving at Soto City from Notting City. It's really a big city. Under the scorching noon sun, I hid on the bustling streets of Nottingham City, eating the grilled meat I had bought. Long hours of practicing martial arts have resulted in his height reaching 1.7 meters. Zang was wearing a black outfit, very clean and neat, with a head of dark blue hair casually draped over his shoulders. Did he bring any luggage, or rather, his luggage was all in his soul space. Fortunately, the soul space is bound to his soul, and even after reincarnation, it still exists. Moreover, the soul space can store ordinary living creatures, and any living creature will be frozen by time after being placed. At the moment of placement, although there are only 100 squares, it is still sufficient. The barbecue he is currently eating is the one he has added, and it remains warm. We need to find where Fran's shop is. Zang wants to buy the sheet metal from Fran's store in advance and give it to Tang San to establish a relationship between himself and Tang San. This is also to prepare for the implementation of that plan in the future. I kept hiding and stopping all the way, constantly buying food, and my mouth was not idle for a moment. What kind of grilled chicken legs, grilled large intestine with scallions, grilled meat? All come without hesitation. By 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, hiding in a store, I felt the fluctuation of soul power. He stopped and looked, only to see a sign hanging on the storefront that was the same as the token of the Martial Soul Hall. Looking inside, Zang saw that the shop was not very large, slightly dim, and there were some miscellaneous items hanging inside that he didn't know what. He knew he had found the shop where Fran was located. When Zang walked into the store, there were only 2 people inside, a middle-aged man and a chubby child. The middle-aged man lay comfortably on the rocking chair, with a hooked nose and a shoehorn face, wearing a pair of black framed glasses. Although he closed his eyes, he looked somewhat cunning. The chubby little man looked only 6 or 7 years old, with 2 mustaches growing on his lips at a young age. He felt like he was about the same age as Tang San and was helping the middle-aged man shake the lounge chair. This should be Fran and Ma Hongjun. Hidden in thought, Fran, lying on the rocking chair, opened his eyes and looked at Zang, saying, "Do the guests want to buy anything?" Hiding his head, his gaze wandered between the various soul guides in the store, and his eyes lit up when he saw an opaque crystal in the corner of the wall. The crystal is only the size of a human head and has large dark yellow patches inside. He pretended to casually point at the crystal and said, "Boss, how do you sell this crystal?" 100 gold coins, no bargaining, said Fran lazily. Zang intentionally widened his eyes and said in surprise, "It's so expensive, it costs 100 gold coins." Then, as Zang turned around, he muttered, "I still have to go to Shrek College. If I buy it, I won't have any money." Upon hearing Shrek College, Fran immediately said with interest, "Little brother, it's not time for enrollment yet. What are you doing at Shrek College?" "Oh, I know teacher Zhao Wuji over there. He said I can study at Shrek College anytime," Zang said as he looked at Fran. "Young man, what's your name?" asked Fran. "My name is Zang, what's wrong?" Zang looked at Fran with a puzzled expression. Fran sat up with an ugly smile and said, "To be honest, I am Fran, the dean of Shrek College. I heard old Zhao talk about your situation, and I happened to have Ma Hongjun take you there." After speaking, he turned to the chubby boy next to him and said, "Hongjun, could you please bring Zang to our college? By the way, if you like that crystal, I'll give it to you for free," continued Zang. "After all, I got it for free." Fran thought to himself. "Then I won't be polite, Dean." Zang the snake followed his stick and called out to Fran, "Dean." Immediately, Zang picked up the sheet metal and put it into the soul space. Fran didn't pay much attention to the situation, only thinking that he had a soul guide that could store things hidden inside. Later, the chubby Ma Hongjun took him to Shrek College with him, hiding out of Soto City. Zang casually looked at the farmland on both sides of the road while answering the little fat man's questions. Questions like, "How old are you? How many levels are you at? What is your martial soul? How did you get to know teacher Zhao Wuji?" Upon learning that the first soul ring had absorbed the soul ring of 500 years of ivy, Ma Hongjun was clearly taken aback. He still saw the first soul ring with a lifespan exceeding 400 years. After walking for half an hour, the two of them arrived at a village that looked even smaller than Banyan Tree Village. There are only about 100 households in this village, surrounded by a fence that seems to be used to guard against wild animals. Zang knew that Shrek Academy was broken, but after seeing it with his own eyes, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. "We're here." Ma Hongjun turned his head and said to Zang, then excitedly ran to the village and shouted, Teacher Zhao, Zang has come to our college." Zang walked into the village, and inside were some wooden houses, which could be said to be very simple. "Kid, why did you come to our college early?" The owner of the voice was on the right side of Zang. Zang turned around and looked. The speaker was not Zhao Wuji, whom he met 2 years ago, but who was it? Standing next to Zhao Wuji were 3 children, one was Ma Hongjun who had just arrived, and another was about the same age as Ma Hongjun, but with a pair of peach blossom eyes. The last one looked about the same size as Zang, with blonde hair and white clothes. The most peculiar thing was his eyes, and the color of the pupils in both eyes was surprisingly different. "Teacher Zhao, I am already in the 20th grade, and staying at Notting Junior College is meaningless, so I followed your advice to come to our Shrek College," explained Zang Shuanglang. "Haha, kid, if I remember correctly, you're only 9 years old," Zhao Wuji chuckled. "Alright, come and have a fight with Mu Bai. Let me see your strength. Our college won't accept wine, bread, and rice bags." Zhao Wuji gestured to the young man in white next to him, and with a hidden gaze, he knew he was Dai Mubai, the evil-eyed white tiger, from the original work. Dai Mubai, Martial Soul. White Tiger, level 24 strong attack Great Soul Master, please advise. Dai Mubai stood up and then summoned the White Tiger Martial Soul to possess him. A purple soul power light appeared on his body, and his golden hair turned into black and white, with black mixed between large pieces of white hair. The character, Wang, also appeared on his forehead. The most eye-catching thing was his figure, and he could only hear a crackling sound all over his body. His height had unexpectedly increased by a few points out of thin air, and his muscles were bulging all over, making his chest clothes bulge. At the same time, the palms were covered with white hair, becoming more than twice as big as before. With 10 fingers clenched, the 10 sharp claws looked sharp and sharp, like small daggers emitting cold light. At the same time, 2 yellow soul rings appeared under his feet, and as the rings moved up and down, the waves of soul power instantly rushed towards Zang's body. Seeing this, he didn't hesitate to summon his martial soul. His shoulders were filled with purple light, and he extended 2 tree roots. He clenched his fists in an attacking posture, and a yellow soul ring appeared under his feet. Zang, Martial Soul. Tree Root, Level 20 Control Soul Master. You're not lucky to encounter a strong attack-type Soul Master while controlling them. Dai Mubai grinned and revealed his fangs. I'll have to fight before I know, Zang said calmly. Okay. Dai Mubai let out a loud shout and rushed forward, directly swinging his legs to sweep towards Zang's waist. Hiding his sauls and exerting force, he lightly jumped backwards to avoid this move of swinging his legs. Then, he grabbed the moment when Dai Mubai turned around and withdrew his legs. As soon as his sauls landed, an explosive force erupted, causing him to rush towards Dai Mubai. Zang punched Dai Mu's white face with a fist, and at the same time, the roots of a tree that was about the size of an adult's arm began to elongate at the shoulder. This was trained by Zang Te and can use martial souls from any position on his body. What an agile skill! Zhao Wuji saw Zang's skills, his eyes lit up, and he couldn't help but speak out. Just as Zang was about to hit Dai Mubai, the first soul ring under Dai Mubai's feet flashed with light, instantly enveloping him with a white light shield. Seeing Dai Mubai using his first soul skill, Zang stopped hitting the light mask and increased his soul power to input into the tree root on his shoulder. I saw the rhythm of the first soul ring hidden beneath my feet, shining brightly. The 2 tree roots stretched out like giant pythons and quickly wrapped around the light mask beside Dai Mubai. My first soul skill has a particularly low soul power consumption, but your soul power required to form a light mask should not be low. Zang opened his mouth to analyze the current situation. But don't forget, I'm at level 24, and you only have level 20. Dai Mubai snorted coldly, and the second soul ring under his feet lit up. I saw a huge white light condensed in Dai Mubai's mouth, and the dazzling white light shot out from the gap between the tree roots. Suddenly, the white light broke free from the constraints of the tree roots, and the air waves scattered the scattered sawdust on the ground. When Dai Mubai's second soul ring lit up, he retreated backwards, avoiding the incoming soul power fluctuations. Dai Mubai let out a tiger roar, his evil eyes immediately locked onto Zang's figure, his legs bulging, and he rushed towards Zang with all his might. Then, extend your right arm backwards to gather energy, and immediately jump up to pat Zang head on. Dai Mubai's tiger paw flickered with a cold light, and Zang knew that this move was powerful and heavy, so he couldn't forcefully catch it. He aimed at the landing point of Dai Mubai's right palm and raised his left arm to block Dai Mubai's right wrist. The immense force pressed down on Zang's feet, but his legs were removed like springs. Within this inch, Zang's right hand half bent its fingers and only heard the air exploding between its bones. Without a chance to react, Dai Mubai was hit by a finger bone below his left rib. This move is exactly the power of Ming Jin. The saying goes, it's hard to buy a single sound for 1,000 gold coins. The so called Mingjin refers to gathering the muscle strength of the whole body, and then condensing it into a small burst. With one move, the air explodes and the power is astonishing. This is Mingjin. Although Dai Mubai possesses top-notch beast martial souls, he is only 10 years old. Despite being protected by soul power, he still finds it difficult to withstand this powerful attack, let alone targeting human weaknesses. In an instant, Dai Mubai put on a pain mask on her face and had to stagger back a few steps, covering the attacked area with her left hand. That is to say, Zang has not yet opened up the Ren Du Ermai and mastered the dark energy. If you master the dark power, you can inject it into Dai Mubai's body, damaging his internal organs, afraid that one move can make him vomit blood. What a tough kid, but it suits my taste, hee. Zhao Wuji was even more satisfied with Zhang's ruthless moves. And this is also Tibet's combat style. In his past life, Tibet integrated the techniques of Tongbei Quan, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and other martial arts into his own unique combat style, with deadly moves. At the same time, Zang also learned some extremely exquisite body techniques, which made him agile like a black panther in combat. In other words, Zang is a killer like the Tiger King. Do you still want to fight? Stand still and slowly recover the roots of the tree on your shoulders. Stop fighting. Dai Mubai lifted his martial soul possession and stumbled to Zhao Wuji's side. Mubai, go find teacher Xiao and ask for 2 sugar beans to eat. Zhao Wuji ordered Dai Mubai to recover from the injury. Then, Zhao Wuji walked up to Zang and patted his shoulder, saying, "Good kid, you can beat Dai Mubai. I announce that you have officially joined our Shrek Academy. Let's go, I'll introduce you to the teacher and familiarize you with the environment." After speaking, lead Zang to the teaching area. Only Ma Hongjun and the others glanced at each other and swallowed saliva. Surprisingly able to defeat Boss Dai, how impressive. The two of them thought to themselves. Chapter 9. Second Soul Ring. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Goo goo, in a room in Soto City, the sound of frogs gradually subsided until it disappeared. Take a deep breath, open your eyes, and there seems to be a bright light flashing in them. Unconsciously, it has been a week since Zang arrived at Shrek College. This week, the e-bone cultivation of fishing for toads has been greatly completed, and the surface of the bones has been incredibly strong due to the vibration of frogs. Of course, this is also thanks to the Soul Saint level food soul master Xiao Xian. If it weren't for his sugar bean supply over the past week, it would be really difficult to complete the cultivation. This house was rented the next day in Soto City because the Shrek College dormitories were too rudimentary and very inconvenient to hide and practice. Today is the date for the college teachers to take Zang and Oscar to obtain the soul ring. Zang has been at level 20 for over a month, and Oscar has just entered school with innate full soul power and has not yet obtained the soul ring. Coincidentally, the two of them, led by Soul Emperor Li Yusong, went to the Star Do Forest to hunt for their respective soul rings. And the soul beast that Zang wants to hunt has already been planned. It is the plant soul beast that has been around for over 900 years. The Longshu Banyan Tree. The characteristic of this plant spirit beast is that the main tree will hang many branches that insert into the ground, and these branches will take root and form independent banyan trees. To kill this soul beast, not only do you need to kill the main tree, but you must also eliminate all the subplants. Missing any subplants will not completely kill the Longshu Banyan Tree. So although the dragon-bearded banyan tree is not very aggressive, relying on this way of survival, it is also able to survive in the starry forest. This is also a species unique to the starry forest. Sometimes when you enter the starry forest, you see a large banyan forest, which may just be a dragon-bearded banyan tree. Why would you choose this kind of soul beast? It is because it is difficult for the hidden tree root martial soul to divide into many tree roots, and it requires a great deal of soul power to separate 3 tree roots at the same time. Usually, only 2 tree roots can be used to fight against enemies. And once the root of the tree formed by the martial soul is destroyed, it also requires a lot of soul power to recover. The reproductive characteristics of Longshu banyan tree's ion-splitting plant are estimated to make the hidden tree root martial soul equally prone to developing the ability to differentiate tree roots. Moreover, the dragon-beard banyan tree is also a soul beast with enormous vitality. It is believed that obtaining the second soul ring will greatly enhance the vitality of Tibetan martial souls, allowing them to repair tree roots with less soul power. In fact, Zang is someone who likes to be a mage-type player. With his hands waving, the infinite branches surge and he shouts whatever he wants, but unfortunately, his martial soul is really struggling now. He can only achieve victory through close combat with people. In Zhang's vision, if luck is good enough, the second soul ring can obtain that unique soul skill, and perhaps Zang can easily obtain the blue-silver emperor soul bone without climbing a 100-meter-high waterfall. Meanwhile, this also provides a great possibility for obtaining immortal grass. All of this depends on whether Zang can receive the favor of fate. Zang, would you like to reconsider the age of your second soul ring? Is over 900 years too high? The leader of this team is Li Yusong, the sole emperor of the dragon pattern staff. His talent is good, but due to his poor family, he doesn't have the money to hire people to hunt century-old soul beasts, so the first soul ring is only white. Otherwise, he may have entered the Soul Saint. At this moment, Li Yusong took Zang and Oscar to the Star Forest. And he was once again inquiring about Zhang's thoughts, which he believed were too radical. Most people obtain second soul rings for 600 to 700 years. However, Zang proposed to obtain the second soul ring that had been around for over 900 years. Although he knew that Zhang's first soul ring had risked absorbing more than 500 years of ivy, it was still too dangerous. Teacher Li, there is a saying that, if you don't go crazy, you won't survive. I want to gain stronger power to evolve my martial soul. How could it be possible without taking some risks? Zang smiled and said, besides, my physical fitness is naturally stronger than the average person, and coupled with my emphasis on exercise, I think I can take a risk and give it a try. Okay, I respect your opinion, Li Yusong sighed helplessly. Beside him, Oscar looked at Zang with admiration. He was just a weak, pitiful, and helpless auxiliary soul master, just absorbing a soul ring that had been around for over 300 years. Soto City is only 500 miles away from the Star Forest, and the three hired a carriage. However, they arrived at their destination in half a day. Of course, the fare was hidden, otherwise Frand wouldn't have reimbursed it and would have let them walk over. However, Zang didn't want to waste time on these things, so he paid for it himself and took a car over. Do you want to take a night off before going over? The three of them walked in a bustling small town outside the starry forest, which was incredibly lively. Apart from the lack of city walls, it was simply a city. Zang looked around and casually replied, it's not too late. Let's hurry up and hunt for the soul ring. Anyway, the carriage we're in is not tiring either. It's so lively here. Oscar sighed. Of course, this is specifically designed to serve soul masters. After all, the Star Forest is the largest gathering place for soul beasts. Every day, many soul masters come here to hunt and kill soul beasts and search for herbs. Li Yusong explained, Oscar, your first soul ring is to choose a 400-year-old sunflower. As for the 900-year-old dragon-bearded banyan tree that you want, we happened to see one when we came to the Star Forest 2 years ago, which is also considered lucky for you. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and leave. Upon hearing the news of the 900-year-old dragon-bearded banyan tree, Zang quickly urged Li Yusong to take them over. Li Yusong burst into laughter and immediately led the two of them to the location in his memory. Zang and Oscar followed in the footsteps of Li Yusong and walked for about 30 minutes to a muddy pond. Along the way, Li Yusong scared away many soul beasts. After all, they were only on the outskirts of the Star Forest, and there were not many powerful soul beasts. That's the 900-year-old dragon-bearded banyan tree. It's said to be 900 years old, but it's also very close to 1,000 years old. Li Yusong reminded again. I'm sure I'll choose it, Teacher Li. Zang firmly said, his gaze fixed on the banyan tree forest ahead, but in reality, it was just a plant soul beast. Okay. Dragon Pattern Stick. First Soul Skill. Sixth Soul Skill. Li Yusong's soul power surged throughout his body, summoning the martial soul dragon pattern stick. The first and sixth soul rings under his feet shone brightly. I saw the dragon pattern stick in Li Yusong's hands detach from his grasp, float in the air, and then grow longer and thicker. Under the control of Li Yusong, the enlarged dragon pattern stick swept across the banyan forest ahead. The strong momentum formed a wave of air that curled up the hair of Zang and Oscar. Under the attack of Li Yusong, who was the sole emperor, the 900-year-old dragon-bearded banyan tree was quickly broken in large pieces, and even the main tree was broken, leaving only a small piece for Zang to handle automatically. There is a small piece of banyan tree. If you go ahead and cut it, you can kill this dragon-bearded banyan tree, Li Yusong said to Zang, putting away his martial soul. Okay. Zang took out a machete from his soul space, stepped on the mud, and walked towards the remaining dragon-bearded banyan tree branches. Quickly, Zang cut off all the sub-trees, even the broken main tree. When he saw a yellow soul ring emerge from the messy bushes, Zang put away his machete and walked out of the mud. Ignoring his muddy feet, Zang sat cross-legged on the ground, his mind calling for the 900-year soul ring of the dragon-bearded banyan tree to enter his body. As soon as the soul ring of the dragon-bearded banyan tree entered Zhang's body, the surging soul power immediately surged through his body. Zhang's face turned visibly red, with fine beads of sweat covering his forehead. But fortunately, the cultivation of Yi Gu has been greatly completed. As long as you hold on to the first wave of soul power impact, the rest is water-grinding kung fu. Li Yusong and Oscar waited for nearly an hour before seeing Zhang's face gradually improve, and the two gradually relaxed. Wow, this child! Li Yusong's face was full of admiration. Take a deep breath and finally refine this 900-year-old second soul ring. The first and second soul rings appeared under his feet, and only 1, 2, 3. A total of 10 tree roots emerged from behind him. Is this your second soul skill? Oscar asked in surprise. Yes. My second soul skill is called Split, which allows me to freely manipulate the splitting of tree roots and fight with complex tree roots. Hiding a faint smile on his face, he was actually trying his best to control his desire for wild laughter. This soul skill is just a characteristic brought by the absorption of the dragon-bearded banyan tree soul ring by the martial soul, and belongs to the passive skill. Of course, the true second soul skill is not this effect. Moreover, the dragon-bearded banyan tree greatly enhances the vitality of the root martial soul, and repairing damaged roots only requires minimal soul power. Zang carefully realized the effect of this second soul skill. He just wanted to laugh wildly from the sky. With this soul skill, Blue Silver Emperor's soul bone and immortal grass are not impossible. Ha 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 ha. Hidden in my heart. Subsequently, Zang calmed down his mood, simply tidied up his shoes and pants, and let Li Yusong take them to find the 400-year-old sunflower. Chapter 10. Forbidden Forest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I have a big sausage. Oscar gave a lewd smile, recited a spell, and the first soul ring lit up. He condensed 2 large sausages in his hand and handed them to Dai Mubai and Zang, who were sitting on the ground to recover their strength. Dai Mubai took the big sausage from Oscar's hand with a disdainful expression on his face, and then bit it hard. Zang didn't feel anything, he quickly took it and ate it. It's important to restore his soul power. It has to be said that Oscar, a food-based soul master with innate soul power, is really impressive. The large sausage condensed by this first soul ring can fully restore physical strength and soul power. Even if one eats a level 22 treasure, they can still restore most of their soul power. Just now, he and Dai Mubai had another competition, and this time Zang chose to only use martial souls for combat. Zang and Dai Mubai stood on the training ground of Shrek Academy. Mubai, this time I only use my martial soul and don't need any other moves. I want to test my self-created soul skills. Zang suggested to Dai Mubai. Okay. Dai Mubai didn't waste his time either. He directly possessed his martial soul, with 200-year-old soul rings spinning under his feet, waving his tiger claws that shimmered with cold light and rushing towards Tibet. Hide sideways and dodge, then do 2 backflips to distance yourself from Dai Mubai. Look at my self-created soul skill. Forbidden Forest. A wave of soul power lit up on Zhang's body, and behind him, more than a dozen tree roots, the thickness of an adult man's thigh, began to extend. These tree roots were tinged with blue and hovered slightly in the air before rushing directly towards Dai Mubai. Dai Mubai exerted all his strength on his legs and dodged the 10 protruding tree roots to the right, mocking with his mouth, "Is this your self-created soul skill? It doesn't look very good either. Humph, don't give up next." Hiding a smile on the corner of his mouth, the first and second soul rings under his feet lit up. I saw the failed tree roots bend 90 degrees in the air, and then in Dai Mubai's surprised gaze, half of the root tips began to wriggle and deform, turning into a giant fist the size of a basketball. The remaining half of the tree roots began to entangle together, forming a wooden dragon nearly 1 meter thick and thin. Mulong opened his mouth and let out a silent roar, rushing towards Dai Mubai at a faster speed. Just as the wooden dragon was about to entangle Dai Mubai, the second soul ring under his feet was activated. Dai Mubai's soul power flickered all over his body, he straightened his chest and inhaled, followed by a roar, and the scorching white tiger's fierce light waves spewed out like dragon breath towards the wooden dragon. The wooden dragon was sprayed head-on by light waves, instantly shattered into sawdust and scattered in the air. When the light dissipated, most of the wooden dragon, which was close to 10 meters long, was destroyed, leaving only a small portion connected behind the hiding place. Immediately after, 8 huge wooden fists chased towards Dai Mubai's position from different directions. Dai Mubai quickly activated his first soul skill, the White Tiger Bodyguard, to protect himself, while quickly dodging the attack of the wooden fist, his eyes fixed on the hidden position and suddenly attacked. "It's not over yet." "Chasing, wooden dragon!" Zang shouted loudly. At the same time, he increased the output of soul power, and the shattered wooden dragon returned to its original state in a few seconds, chasing Dai Mubai under the control of Zang. Dai Mubai thought that his hidden martial soul was still like before, and it was difficult to recover after being destroyed. He was not even prepared for the pursuit of the wooden dragon, and was caught off guard like a python by the wooden dragon. Fortunately, Dai Mubai was able to protect himself with the White Tiger barrier at this moment, and then he launched the White Tiger flame wave again, causing the strong impact to shatter the wooden dragon once again. "Waiting for you." Hidden in Dai Mubai's hair, he manipulated 8 wooden fists to hit Dai Mubai while emitting the White Tiger flame light wave. At the moment when the wooden dragon shattered and the White Tiger protective barrier on Dai Mubai's body disappeared, a huge wooden fist with tremendous force hit Dai Mubai's body. Coincidentally, a punch hit Dai Mubai in the face, giving him nosebleeds and a panda eye. Damn it! Dai Mubai was infuriated by this sneak attack and once again activated the White Tiger protection barrier to protect himself. But these wooden fists immediately formed a wooden dragon and trapped Dai Mubai, while hiding and manipulating the wooden dragon to split into several wooden fists and hit him. What a disgusting routine. Wait, when I have the third soul skill, I can ignore the constraints of these wooden dragons. Dai Mubai was disgusted by the combination of combos he was hiding. The wooden dragon formed by several tree roots is still very strong, and to destroy it, he can only use the White Tiger Flame Light Wave. When the White Tiger Flame Light Wave disappears, Zang will manipulate the wooden fist to hit him. After he got rid of the wooden fist, the wooden dragon recovered and came to tie him up. He could only fall into a situation of being beaten, although the damage of the wooden fist was not particularly high, it was extremely insulting and disgusting. However, what curious Dai Mubai the most was the transformation of the form of the tree root martial soul, whether it was transformed into a wooden fist or a wooden dragon. How did it actually happen? Zhang's explanation for this is to exercise more control over the martial soul. As a martial soul master, I cannot even fully understand my own martial soul, let alone be a martial soul master. In fact, this ability is the utilization of the second soul skill by Zang. The true name of the second soul skill hidden is the wooden clone. Because the hidden second soul ring comes from the dragon-bearded banyan tree, the characteristic of this plant soul beast is that it can split many offspring. If the offspring are not completely eliminated, the dragon-bearded banyan tree will not die. Therefore, the second soul skill effect of Zang is to transform the martial soul into a form. Yu reads www.yuukangshu.net, and then becomes a wooden avatar similar to Zang. If Zang's martial soul can connect to this wooden avatar, Zang can control it to move freely and do things, and Zang can also shift his perspective to this wooden avatar. If the martial soul is not connected to this wooden avatar, then the duration of the wooden avatar's existence depends on the soul power hidden on it. Moreover, Zang can also control this independent wooden clone and use its perspective to do things. Based on the current level 22 soul power, half of the soul power allocated to independent wooden clones can allow them to move for about 2 hours. This soul skill perfectly fits Zang's vision. With this soul skill, Zang can first elongate the tree roots, climb up the waterfall of the Blue Silver Emperor, then enter the cave, use the second soul skill to transform into a wooden clone, and finally control the wooden clone to successfully steal the soul bones of the Blue Silver Emperor and the 100,000-year-old Blue Silver Emperor. This happens to avoid the impact of the waterfall's water flow. The 100,000-year-old Blue Silver Emperor soul bone collection is naturally used for absorption, and as for the purpose of the Blue Silver Emperor, the collection has long been prepared. And the purpose of Master Zhangjiao is also for this. Although Yu Xiaojiang is a useless person, his understanding of soul beasts is still very deep. Zang happened to learn about a unique plant soul beast from the master, which perfectly meets Zang's requirements. Not only can it greatly enhance the offensive power of its martial soul, but it can also be used to solve the Blue Silver Emperor. As for how Zang transformed his martial soul into a wooden dragon and a wooden fist, it was because he noticed the first effect of the second soul technique. Changing the form of the martial soul. Although it turned into a wooden clone in the end, Zang strengthened his training on this effect by only changing his form, and it was up to him to decide what he would eventually become. Zang named this move Forbidden Forest.